What is going on, YouTube? PPS back here. It is the 8th of December. We're coming at you guys with the YouTube play of the day for today's college basketball slate. No NFL spots so far. Working on an article for NBA coming at you guys again there. We did win our play for that yesterday with Anthony Edwards over 32.5 points plus rebounds. That came through for us. And obviously, we're going to be coming at you guys today with another one of those articles. I think we're like 6-1 in our last 7. If you take away the illness from Anthony Davis, because they ended up giving us giving us our money back after the fact because of how bad that was handled. But it is what it is. We'll take a look at our last couple plays here. Toledo came through, crushed it, 45 points in the first half, which was awesome. And then we get one that was a little worse, right? We ended up getting hooked on this one, which is very, very unfortunate. I thought we had it. They needed 4 points, I think, with like 3.5 minutes left, and just couldn't do it. Just couldn't find the bucket, missed free throws in that first half, and that's kind of what happens in these bigger games when you're in like a MSG, right there. It's a little bit more pressure, and obviously couldn't come through there for us. But we're going back to a team that if you're in my VIP, which I know a lot of you guys do watch these videos for the breakdowns, you're going to know this play and you're going to really like these guys because they've been fantastic to us. And that's going to be Marshall, the Thundering Herd, facing off against Duquesne. They're facing off against Duquesne with a 152 total here. This is a DraftKings line, minus 115 here. And let's just start out with Marshall because I absolutely love this team, right? If you watched videos last year for college basketball, you knew how much I liked VMI. VMI ended up losing their 2 best players, which was Kendall Kerfman and Jake Stevens. Stevens is actually playing for Chattanooga now, and Kerfman actually plays for Marshall, and I loved backing Marshall last year because of their pace and how they play already. They have a guy in Tavion Kinsey who's an absolute stud senior, a guy who we really, really like to back. So far, he's been fantastic, 20.5 points per game. He's been a beast. Really, not much else you need to say about this guy. He's been very good for a long time. I'm pretty sure we've seen him over 20 points in every single game, but 3 this year. And he's the engine. He's the engine of this team. And Kerfman going over here, I think, really helps to spread the floor because now you can't double team him, right? Kerfman obviously shoots very, very well from 3 so far this year. 40% from 3. Their other guard, Taylor, who's another 10-point scorer, he actually averages 19 a game, shooting 33%. That's 3 guys over 12 points per game. I think it's Camden. I think I said something else. I think it's Camden Kerfman. So I just want to make sure I correct that. But Kinsey, 20, Andrew Taylor, 19, and then you got Kerfman at 12 points per game. I think this is a great spot for him. Duquesne has played absolutely nobody so far this year besides Kentucky, right? They played Kentucky. They got walloped by 25, which is expected. But let's just look at the other games that are along in there. Colgate, I really like. They're actually ranked very similarly to Marshall in terms of adjusted offense. They played North Florida, who is extremely, extremely bad. Their defense ranks like 340 in the country. Their offense ranks 195. And they put up 82 on these guys, right? You also want to look at a few of these other games that they played. They just played Ball State, who is not a fast-paced team at all, but they played them to over 70 possessions in their last game. Now you head to Marshall here. We have a matchup with Marshall, both number 1 teams in their conference, right? Duquesne, number 1 in the A-10, while Marshall's number 1 in the Sun Belt. Marshall is going to be by far the fastest team they play. They are ranked top or 22nd right now in the country in terms of pace. But we've seen how Duquesne has now played in a couple of these games so far. Like I said, Ball State, extremely fast. Colgate, we've seen them. They're not a very fast team. They're very offensively efficient, but they're not a fast tempo team. And that game went to 165, right? North Florida, 165, right? We want to look at just in terms of like how bad some of these teams are playing. Marshall has played a very, very weak schedule. I'm not denying that. They've played some pretty bad teams as well. But in terms of strength of schedule on the offensive end, Duquesne is ranked 270. The offenses they've played are 270 ranked, and how bad that they are. Marshall, not really any better, but I do like how this pace is going to turn it up a little bit. We've seen how bad some of these offenses are, and they're still scoring on Duquesne, right? So that is not a good look when the offenses that you're playing are terrible, and they're still scoring. Some of these teams over 80 against your defense. Now let's look over on the Duquesne side. They're okay, right? They're very dependent on one guy. In Day Grant, 19 a game. He's been fantastic, over 50% from three. I like how they're very senior heavy as well. A lot of guys playing 20 minutes. There's been a couple blowouts in there, so that probably doesn't really help the matters. But I think that we're going to have a fun matchup here in terms of how fast this game is going to be, right? The top three scorers on both teams are guards, right? The paint is not really guarded by anybody here. We look at Marshall's side, their tallest guy that plays 20 plus minutes is 6'8". Duquesne is rolling out this guy named Austin Rotroff. He's 6'10", right? But he's averaging 8 points a game. He's playing 19 minutes a game, right? This game is just going to go up and down, right? Shooting threes, playing the fun style of basketball that Marshall wants to play. I think Marshall dictates it. We've seen games fly over for Duquesne, even against slower teams. I think Marshall scores at will here. And we're looking at a 2-point spread. We have senior latent guards on both sides who can hit free throws. That could come into effect. I think this game is going to be a fun one. I think this is probably my favorite game on the slate. Not a huge NBA slate or a big college slate, but outside of like your Iowa State, this one is going to be the most fun game in my opinion. So love Marshall over 152, minus 115 on DraftKings. I'm playing for 1.5 units, guys. I love this spot. Hopefully you are backing the Thundering Herd as well. They're 2-point dogs. I think this is going to be a great matchup between two first place teams in their conference. So have a good one, guys. Best of luck, and we'll talk tomorrow on Pass.